Lent brings lots of challenges, more prayer, fasting and almsgiving in particular. And the third one of those can be more difficult than you think. In fact, I'm struggling with it right now. How do you put the trocar box together? I wouldn't mind, but this isn't even my trocar box. My trocar box is a special one they send priests. How am I supposed to fill all of that in just one Lent? Here in Ireland, of course, Lent wouldn't be Lent without the familiar trocar box. For nearly 50 years now, Irish Catholics have collected money each Lent for Trocar, the charity set up by the Irish bishops in 1973 to assist with development in the Third World. Many other countries have similar charities: CAFOD in England and Wales, SCIAF in Scotland, Catholic Relief Services in the US, and many other groups that come together as part of Caritas International. The pounds we put in the box, the cheques we post, or the payments we make online allow these groups to do relief work in some of the world's most difficult situations, as well as long-term development projects and building social services. By supporting these appeals, we're showing that we really do mean it when we say that all Christians are our sisters and brothers, wherever they are in the world. Now, charity is needed all year round. So why is it so closely associated with Lent? Well, it was Jesus himself who first linked prayer, fasting and almsgiving together. In Matthew chapter 6, he talks about the attitude of discretion and humility that we should have when we're doing each of those three things. This is the passage that we read at Mass on Ash Wednesday each year as our Lent gets underway. And all through his life, Jesus showed a special care for those who were poor. It's because God himself is so generous with his love that he watches out so carefully for those among us who are in need. And the Lord teaches us how we should behave too. Think of a parable like the Good Samaritan. Jesus uses that story to tell us not to avoid people in need or pretend we haven't seen them like the priest or the Levite did. Instead, like the Samaritan, we should take an interest and offer to help. The Samaritan in that parable was generous with his cash. You remember, he paid the innkeeper to look after the wounded man for a few days. But more importantly, he was generous with his time and his attention. That's a good lesson for us too. Because if we think almsgiving and looking out for the poor is just a matter of putting our spare change in a box, then we're missing the point. That's only one part of it. We should be generous with our money, but also with our time and our talents. We can help others by giving to Trocar or St Vincent de Paul, but there are also people who need our help right here in our own lives. And it's probably not cash they need, but a different type of help. Perhaps a hand to get something done, or a listening ear, or a shoulder to cry on. Of course, there are some people who are so annoying and inconsiderate that what they really need is a good slap. Except you can't do that, and not just because it would be against the law. God doesn't look at people and think they need a clip round the ears. No matter how annoying or sinful they are, God is patient, kind, loving, tolerant, and he would like us to be the same. And if we can't manage that for the other person's sake, we should still try to do it for God's sake, and he will be very grateful. That's what charity is, to love others for God's sake. Whether they are on the other side of the world or in our own street, God wants us to care for those in need on his behalf. And he promises in that gospel passage from Matthew that if we do, and if we do it without looking for attention or praise from others, he will reward us because he loves us too. So this Lent, do your bit for Trocar or St Vincent de Paul or apostolic work or aid to the church in need. There are so many people in our community and around the world who do need our financial help. But don't forget too, those who need other kinds of help in our own lives, because God wants you to be his Good Samaritan to them too.